So this website is called sacredtext.com and they have over 300 downloadable books in text file format. I'm going to make a selection for one of these books and turn the sacred text into a sacred mp3. So I picked The Vampire, His Kith and Kin because that is the type of content that I would like to fall asleep to tonight. And I'm going to start by going to my documents directory and I'm going to create a Python file called text2odd.py. And then I'm going to open it from the command line. So this venture can be split into two parts. The first part is going to be to create a user or to launch a user interface that'll prompt the user to select a file, because I don't want to have to open this Python file and manually insert the file path or do anything like that, so I'd rather just have a user interface pop up and ask me to select one of my files. So the first step is going to be a graphical user interface to prompt for a file. And then the second step is going to be to read the content of the file to text and then save it as an mp3. So to create this user interface, we're going to use the Python interface called tkinter, and specifically the file dialog module, because it'll launch a dialog that allows the user to specify a file to open. And to get that to work, we're gonna peek into the documentation for the file dialog and see which one of these methods sounds appropriate, which ask open file seems pretty good. What'll happen is the user will pick a file and then we can capture that into a file object and work with it from there. From tkinter, I'm going to import the tk class. And then I'm going to import the relevant function from the tkinter file dialog module. And now to create this window that will prompt the user, we instantiate tk. Instantiating tk will also create a root window, and I'll give a demonstration of what that root window looks like shortly, just so you can get a better idea of why I find it necessary to append the withdraw function. So we're finally going to use the askOpenFile function, and we're going to ask the user to open a file, and we're going to capture that file into a file object. So when you execute that, you get this user interface that lets you select a file, as I mentioned, and then over here is what the root window looks like. See, it's just confusing and unnecessary for our purposes, and if you try and hit the red X button on top of it, it'll become completely unresponsive. So this is why I'm using the withdraw function to get rid of this. Okay, so we have acquired a file object of the user's choice, and now we must read the text from it, which will be done using the read function. And I'm going to capture that into the book text variable. I'm just going to put it here for formatting. The next step is to convert this text into audio, which is going to be done by using Google Text-to-Speech. You have to install Google Text-to-Speech, and to do that, you're just going to type pip install gtts into your command line. I'm not going to click enter here because I already have it installed. So I'm going to import the module, and then I'm going to follow the example in the documentation and save this gtts object into a variable called audiobook. My text is going to be the book text, and then language, I'm just gonna go for English for today. Maybe if I don't want to understand anything, I'll pick something else later. So following the example, to save this into an mp3, the documenter wrote tts.save and then they manually typed the name of the mp3 file. So I could go ahead and do that in my Python file, just typing something random and appending .mp3 to it, but if I run this on multiple files, then I'm either going to override the audiobook each time, or I'm going to have to manually open this Python file and change the title before each execution. I don't want to keep opening this file. So what I want to do is figure out how this program can find an appropriate title for the mp3 by itself. So my idea for that is just to take a look at the name of the file that the user selected and then just append mp3 to the tail end of that. But the name of the file that the user selected can include the entire path of the file. So it can be like /documents/vampires.txt. I'm not going to call an mp3/documents/vampires.txt. What I want to do is just strip the file name just to the tail end, and I found an answer on Stack Overflow which suggests using the pathlib module. So I'm going to import that into my Python program. Since the file object comes with lots of different pieces of information, I just want to extract the name from that. And then I'm going to use the path stem function to retrieve the ending. That pretty much sums up everything that I want to do for this program. Now I can test it. So I'm going to execute it. And then I'm going to find my file, the vampire.txt, and click open. If you have sneaky and wandering eyes, you can probably see that there's an earlier version of the mp3. Well, that's because I tested this before recording the screen and I forgot to delete that file. So this conversion process might take a while, especially if you're converting a very large text file. Like if it's going to be a 6-hour-long audiobook, it's going to take some time to generate. So don't be discouraged by that. Let's do a launch party and listen to a segment of this together. So I'm going to type open the vampire.mp3.
The Vampire, His Kith and Kin, by Monica Summers. Introduction. In all the darkest pages of the malign supernatural, there is no more terrible tradition than that of the vampire, a pariah even among demons.
Okay guys, that concludes the book club. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.